What's up, boys? My name is Justin.
I'm Thomas.
I'm Nicholas.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Zach.
And this is Stationary. Stationary is a 2D side-scrolling horror mystery, where players interact with objects in order to escape from a decaying loop of space and time caused by a horrific mold demon. When first looking at the Dresden Files, our group hovered around the idea of making a horror game. Not only did we think a game with a shorter scope with a higher amount of polish would be a nice counterpiece to our previous game, which was more or less the opposite, we also wanted to prevent ourselves from biting off more work than we could chew. We then began to work on developing the aesthetics and theme of our game. After coming up with a basic premise for a narrative of an ordinary police officer encountering a demon, we began to create a basic room layout for a police station. We referenced several other games and real-world photos in order to narrow down what specific avenue of horror we wanted to try working with. Then, as our game progressed, we developed the story, gameplay, and assets from our initial framework constructed in the early weeks. This flow led to a very productive workflow and polished product with incredible atmosphere and strongly implemented gameplay.
In Stationary, you play as Paul, a policeman working at the Chicago PD. After a long day of work, it's time for you to go home. However, as soon as you step through the door, you return to the room where you started in. In fact, you're stuck in a loop, and every time you walk through the exit, you end up where you started. But that's not all. Every time Paul traverses a loop, things get worse. Things get creepier. A strange black substance is eating away at the inside of the police station. In his search for a way out, Paul must find clues that lead him to discover the wizard Harry Dresden, who may be able to help him with this paranormal situation. If Paul can find Dresden's number in time, he can contact him and will be rescued. However, if Paul takes too long to discover all the necessary clues, the mold demons that are creeping throughout the station will consume him as well. The game is a single-player experience targeted at players around 15 or older. The game has a decent amount of swearing, but that's really the worst it has to offer, as there isn't any gore or violence. We aim to target this game specifically at fans of horror, and especially of classic RPG Maker horror games, as well as fans of the Dresden Files, of course. Here are a couple of images of some games we took inspiration from. Brief walkthrough. That's a good way to describe the gameplay, actually. You walk through the police station looking for a way out. To find clues, you have to interact with various objects. There is a specific sequence of objects you have to interact with in order to find the necessary information. Once you do, you can call Dresden on the phone to get him to come save you. The core mechanics of the game are just moving around and interacting. Movement is very simple, only walking and sprinting, and interacting results in a quick piece of dialogue. Usually Paul will comment about the object you are interacting with. Sometimes these comments contain key information that you need to progress through the game.
Oh, and just to reiterate, the game has two endings, a win condition and an end condition. If you're able to solve the mystery and call Harry Dresden, then you're successfully able to escape the time loop and the mold. If you can't solve the mystery, then, after a couple loops, the mold will overtake you and you will die.
Strengths of the game. The game is very accessible and has almost no difficulty curve, making it playable by virtually anyone. The narrative and atmosphere of the game starts subtle, but is interesting enough that it draws the player in. The small tasks required of the player are well blended into the game's environments and makes them more immersive. The sound design is detailed and well incorporated, which makes the actions in the game feel more visceral as well. Weaknesses of the game. The game's tasks and puzzles are not fully complex enough to really be challenging to everyone. The narrative being the focus of the game means that players who aren't interested won't be able to play around with many other mechanics. While the ramping horror elements were carefully planned, the game's short length doesn't allow the same slow burn effect as other games, such as PT or any other horror games. The environment contains many objects with dialogue, but overall there are not many objects the player can actually fully interact with to cause change in the level. The backgrounds not being very animated can also make the game feel somewhat bland when the horror elements haven't fully settled in yet.
The strengths and weaknesses of the team for this project went similarly to the last one with some key differences. To start, because we were doing a horror game instead of a puzzle game, we knew going in this would require us to have much better communication with one another compared to the puzzle game. Especially considering the focus of the game was going to be on atmospheric horror, so we needed to make sure the narrative, the sound design, and the elements in the game all work together in a cohesive unit. In the end, I do think we achieved this very well, and this is because we did improve our team communication, we made sure everyone understood the roles they were working on, and we also implemented a new thing compared to the last project, where we would do regular check-ins midway through the week, where a person would add to the chat, asking everyone to give a status update of where they were in their respective fields, and have anyone ask for any questions or assistance as they needed. This, well, in theory worked well, ran into a problem. An issue came up where people were saying they were working on things, but they weren't quite getting done in the timeline we were expecting. And while this wasn't an issue at first, it started to compound over time. This was made especially bad during the week of Thanksgiving, as we wanted the game to be in a certain state before the holidays, due to the fact that several of our members were going to be away, possibly out of state, during the week. And while some members were able to get their assigned tasks done, others did not. And because of that, when we came back together, we realized we were gonna need more time than we initially thought. Hence, we needed to ask for an extension, which graciously we received. We then made sure to buckle down and really focus on getting everything together, which we did, though again we ran into problems of merge conflicts and whatnot, as we were always trying to make sure everything was working properly. In the end, I'm happy with how the game turned out, and look forward to working on projects similar to this in the future.
Given all the time and money in the world, here are some future work we can do to our current product. For one thing, our current game lacks the indicators for our players whenever there's an interactable object, so one thing we can do is add indicators. Therefore, the player doesn't have to run around the map and just spam the E key. Instead, there will be an option to let you know, hey, this is an interactable object, please press E. Another thing we can do is to have more sound effects for anything that the player does. Maybe we can add stuff like better footstep sounding to match the tiles that we see on the floor, or like if there's a window that's open, make some wind sounds. And we have to make sure each individual sound effect matches correctly with the visual, so what the player is seeing. Other things we can add is also cutscenes and voiceovers, where we originally planned to have. However, due to the lack of time, we couldn't add those in. Including with those, we can add more interactive elements and more content so that we can have the narrative of the game build more, and with that we can also give players more an option to choose how they build the narrative themselves. While working on this project, these are some of the lessons that we learned. We discovered that this game can really become a well-developed game if more time and dedication was put into it. With our current product, we got really close to where we originally had envisioned. However, because of the lack of time, and the lack of work that was put into it, we weren't able to get there. But however, if we did get there, it would definitely become something that can be published. So one thing that we should really work on is time management. We did better than our previous project working with time management. However, this time it is because with things like the Thanksgiving break and the finals coming up, a lot of our time we thought we can use to work on the game were used somewhere else, and therefore we really need to accommodate these. And when we were planning our time schedule, we should have known, hey, this is something's coming up, we won't be able to make much time there, so we had to either redefine our scope and make it smaller, or just figure out how to manage our time better.
Hi, my name is Nikki Maurer, and I'm one of the team members for The Boys, and this is our final project, Stationary. As you can see, we're on the menu right now, having the music play while we get everything set up. We go to Options, and control how loud the volume is overall, control the music itself or sound effects. Let's figure this out stuff for the most part, and let's dive right in. You have a voice from the other room. It's one of the higher ups. You kind of see down here we have an indicator E to let you know to press E in order to continue the dialogue. Alright, I'm gonna head out. Make sure to take care of things here, rookie. Your relief officer should be here in a bit. Yes, sir. So, how much longer do I have to do night guard duty for the station? At least another month. I've only been here a week, rookie. Gotta learn the ins and outs of this place first. Actually, you can leave early tonight if you want, since things here have been so slow. I got one guy in holding. Thank you, sir. Speaking of, do you know why that guy was picked up? Hell if I know. I think he was drunk and rowdy or something. You want to find out? Look for yourself. I'm heading home. Bundle of sunshine, that one. Well, not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. Might as well pack up myself. Then you can kind of see in the corner here, we have shift in the WASD to move, kind of indicating controls there. hold shift to go faster. And then kind of look around the environment a bit. And when we get to an interactable object, we see the E prompt come up to let us know that's how we interact with the environment. They use this to note who helped bring in some of the verbs we get for questioning. Let's see. Weird. Most of the name is illegible except that the last name starts with a D. I do remember hearing about some really odd looking guy that got brought in here right before I joined up. Whenever that's the dude that was in here. Hold shift to go faster. Check this one. The holding cell with the guy we picked up. Warner her to check on the dude, but no matter what I say, the lazy bum doesn't respond. Guy's either passed out or ignoring me. Either way, I'm gonna leave this one be. We press the door and we progress forward. Nice theme transition. We can interact with some more things. And also some articles about Private Eye. Looks like his name is Justin. Huh. You can look at the name from the clipboard. Kind of see also some of the other things we can cabinets here. This contains department files and officers here, as well as any private eyes that help with the case. It's locked right now. Let's leave it that way since I'm closing up. Now we have it so that you have to interact with certain elements in each map, in each area, in order to get yourself one of two endings. And only through interacting with these things in the correct order eventually will get you to that good ending. The keys to the filing cabinet upstairs. I need back home, so I shouldn't touch these. Don't want to actually take something home and forget to bring it back. And of course, as we're going forward, you can hit escape to pause. You need to hit continue, it will resume, restart, it will take you back to the beginning. Go back to options in case we want to adjust anything. Or we can quit the game. But for now, let's hit continue and get to our first major point. What the hell? How did I get back here? This should be outside. Something's not right. And as you can see, we are now back at the beginning. But there are some minor things you might notice. The water cooler has a bit of gunk in it now. You kind of see some strange blackish colors coming from the cell doors here. Those are some very minor other changes. Now, I would show credits, but we don't have that as an option to go to directly here. So I will pause the recording for now and just jump ahead to kind of show you the credits and one of two possible endings you can get. And welcome back. So I have looped through a couple times, so you can see the environment is now very different. And as we walk through, you see the mold has grown greatly. You see now one of the doors is possibly open, and we have some music kicking. Let's check out here. Cell door is open. Why is the cell door open? Oh god, the cell door is open. God, it's like a jungle of decay in there. Wait, where's the body? I don't see an outline of a body. I have to get out. And this change is progressive throughout the loops. See, it affects all the maps, and you now see the fungus shifting and moving as you walk through, little spores kind of emanating off of the darkened areas. And as we walk through to the end of this final loop, which you walk through the map a total of 5 times, this being the 5th time. You get to the end. All right, here goes nothing. Place your hand on the doorknob. But I don't want to leave this place. Not really. Really, it's not that bad. I'm sure I could get used to this. After all, if I open the door, it would just be the same, right? Right? And that is our game for this project. Thank you very much for the extension and allowing us the time we needed to kind of get everything together. We're overall very happy with how things came out, and you can see all the credits there, who worked on what. And just hope you have good holidays and look forward to possibly taking some of your classes again. Thank you. Have a good one.